What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode on my channel. As always, I'm Jay, and at last, long last, the time has come to bring back one of the channel alum. You guys know him, you guys love him. Of course, he's going by a slightly different name now. Zakk 2k's from the Uncensnerd.
What's going on, everybody? How we doing today? Yeah, I'm Zakk 2k's. You used to know me as, I guess, just Zakk on the channel here. We did a couple of reviews back in the day. I've been a little radio silent, just working on our own thing, but I'm back and ready to get going. We got a lot of MK to talk about today.
We do, man. And to be honest, like MK being 90s kids, I mean, MK was like around and there was no way you didn't know what the hell it was. Like even like especially in the arcades playing
Mortal Kombat became the benchmark of if you were cool. Which one you played, who you played as, like there was just a really rich and deep lore and culture. And I think that was one of the first things that I was ever invested into the lore for. And then, of course, you know, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and all this stuff branches off. But I think Mortal Kombat was the very first thing that I was like, man, the stuff deeper is so cool.
Oh, yeah. No, and the thing is, too, is like, I mean, here we are. They just released the 11th game plus the expansion for the 11th game. And over the course of all these games and, you know, a couple failed side games, MK Mythologies, MK Special Forces, you know, we've kind of gotten that in there. But also they had like Saturday morning cartoons. They had the one live action movie, because the second one is not a second one. That one doesn't exist. It's not real. Well, no, and then obviously they had. I didn't even realize this. They had a live action TV show, Mortal Kombat Conquest, apparently. And
I don't remember that. I remember the web series. I mean, that's the only live action thing I remember.
In recent years, from Machinima, when they did that after the whole independent little short film, the MK Rebirth, which, you know, it was all right. I still have my problems with it. Again, tying back to, you know, the lore of MK.
It was an interesting take, yeah, but it was not.
They Nolanized
the campiness and the ridiculousness of what MK is. I mean,
exactly. No toasty, nothing like that. We didn't get stuff like that. But yeah, so basically the plot of this, it's you know, it is a new little thing here, and basically it's centering around this new character, Cole Young, kind of being roped into this mystical world of like demons, gods, like fighters, and all this other stuff. So the basic gist of it is that, you know, he's kind of like the audience's, you know, into everything.
Right. He's basically you. As you're watching, you're getting introduced to the world. Whenever there's a scene with exposition or heavy exposition, that's usually a scene where they're explaining it to Cole.
Yep.
So that's a very, very generic trope that a lot of movies use.
Yep.
But it'll help if you make the character interesting.
Definitely.
And that's the problem that I had with Cole.
Yeah.
I wasn't totally bought out of him, but I just didn't care really too much about his motivations. I mean, yeah, it was for his family and everything, which we'll get to here in a second, I'm sure. But I just didn't buy what they were selling me.
So like there was rumors about him being Johnny Cage, rumors about him being Sub-Zero the Younger, which I thought I said I wanted it to be, because Cole Young, and in the mythology, Sub-Zero, like the younger brother who takes over for like the older Sub-Zero after he's killed by Scorpion, essentially, his name is Kuai Liang. Cole Young, Kuai Liang, kind of like a Mad Gab, I guess. So that was one of the big things going into this movie. Next was, is it going to be violent? Are they going to pay tribute and homage to the violence of the video games? Are they going to have decent characters? You know, there was a lot of expectation. And if you remember Mortal Kombat Annihilation's catchphrase, it says, destroy all expectations.
Yep. I was hyped for this one too. This was one of my top in the year. So I just expected a lot more. And that's probably the audience's fault. But
yeah,
the level of disappointment I feel, yet at the same time, if they make a second one, I'll probably go see it, because there was enough good things in here where there's a good Mortal Kombat in here. We can build, I feel like we can build in this world.
We can,
This one was just like their first step after the starting gun, and it was a little bit of a stumble, but they're still in this race, is kind of how I take it with this one.
I always hate how, you know, they think they need to change a whole bunch of stuff story wise because they want to surprise people. And I think and the thing is too is it's funny enough because I've made this comparison off camera. It reminds me of the Power Rangers reboot. It's like, what is up with these 90s martial art properties where they just can't, they don't want to lean into the martial arts. They don't know what it is. They don't know the good cheese that it came with. They don't know, like, okay, well, if you dumb down the cheesiness, but you treat it as like a nice little kind of like Dark Knight style or whatever, it can work. But the thing is like you're still losing the traits of it. Like, but
the cheesiness, the over the topness of it is part of what makes Mortal Kombat Mortal Kombat. The over the top gore is part of what it is. With Mortal Kombat movie, what that should look like, it should look like a modernized version of a 70s kung fu movie with the camp and the cheese, but also really good action. That's what Mortal Kombat, in my opinion, is what the movie should be. The opening fight scene, the scorpion stuff,
dude,
I loved it.
If you remember,
in the original movie, Scorpion and Sub-Zero were basically just henchmen. I mean, I love that movie, but they were basically just henchmen. They didn't really dig deep into the lore.
Exactly.
In this one, they really do. And I like the Scorpion stuff. There's just not enough in it.
Well, that's the thing, is because everyone loves Scorpion and Sub-Zero. So when you start off strong like this, it's almost like, okay, oh shit, you're roping me in, so the hooks are in here. But you know, the
Scorpion, the hooks are in there literally.
Yeah. The thing is the intro was so immensely strong, badass. It was poetic almost. It was beautifully done.
Oh yeah, it was
beautifully edited and well shot. First 30 minutes of the movie, love it. And the tone and everything I'm working with, everything's great. I blame this for why I'm disappointed later in the movie, because this is so good. And the thing is even with the editing, which I'm not really too hard on, is because the editing, everything paced, everything, like the tone and everything in the beginning 5 to 7 minutes of the movie is exactly what I was looking. Oh my God, this is going to be great. This is going to be perfect. You know, and then you're watching, and then as soon as like everything's kind of going on, you're seeing the intro or basically the back and forth, the background of Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Scorpion, his family is basically assassinated by Sub-Zero. And then I thought it was funny when he drops the buckets and like, no, don't forget the elements which brings life. Don't forget the element which brings life, Scorpion. You're gonna need that. They totally make Sub-Zero like the person who kills his whole family. In the games, it was just Sub-Zero who killed him, but Quan Chi deceived everything, and you know,
it was retconned to be in Quan Chi manipulating the first Sub-Zero into doing it.
One thing I don't like though is because now that you're making Bihan Sub-Zero like a cold-blooded assassin, he has no honor. The no honor part is something that I had a real big thing with, and I'll get into more of that later with some of the other villains that we see in this movie and kind of how they're portrayed. It basically, what they wanted to do was just exterminate all of, you know, Hanzo Hasashi's bloodline. Technically that didn't work. Raiden comes in after Hanzo Hasashi's body is essentially turned into hellfire and went down into the nether realm. And he comes through and grabs this baby girl who's been hidden. The bloodline survived, and of course this is one of the laziest things. They give you a text screen explaining some whack ass stuff like, oh, the world is in peril, 9 championships have been lost, 1 more and they will be invaded by Outworld, of savage land and stuff. I'm like,
don't give us that.
Really?
Don't give us that.
Really? You could have given us like a nice montage, something. I mean, like, you know, comic book, graphic novel montage, maybe.
What a lot of these movies, what they're failing to do a lot of the time is that they're not trusting us to be smart enough to just understand that there's lore to it. Like, we're going to hear all this stuff later on down the road. We can put the pieces together. Let us do that sometimes.
We cut after that to modern day, Cole Young getting his hands wrapped by who we later find out is his girlfriend or wife. Basically, he's like a washed up fighter, comes through, and we find out eventually that he is the bloodline of Hanzo Hasashi. Don't like that. The whole point of the feud between Sub-Zero and Hanzo is that his whole family was killed and his
ended.
And his clan was ended. It was like done. And that made the rage and the bloodlust even more in Scorpion.
It made it so much more believable. You know, if it's completely wiped out, it feels like it's cheaper when there's a survivor.
So next he gets his ass kicked. Like I said, he's a washed up fighter, and then he's got this birthmark that is kind of like Scorpion. He had one.
Let's talk about that for a second,
dude. Oh God,
why? Why?
Exactly.
That's not needed. You don't need that at all. You don't need to explain why they have these powers. Yeah. And then something we'll get to even later is that inner strength stuff. What do they call it? Okana?
Yeah, Okana or whatever it is.
We'll get into that, I'm sure, as we keep going.
Give me a fucking break with that. That's just like the problem I had with the Power Rangers movie. Oh, you can't morph into the Power Rangers because you haven't learned how to be a team. Are you shitting me?
Like what?
Plus, they borrowed this unintentionally from Annihilation.
Yeah.
With the dragon tattoos.
Right. With the who was it? Was it Cyrax they had it on?
It was
on
all the bad guys,
right?
yes. Cyrax. Yeah. Anybody with Shao Kahn's crew had it because that was their way of getting to Earthrealm, I guess. Lame.
It's like their passport.
Lame. But after that, we're introduced to Outworld with a quick cut, and we're seeing this like bridge, and then we're seeing a very gaudily dressed Sub-Zero in Shang Tsung. And then that's where we get him saying something about the tournament is coming up, but we have to exterminate everybody beforehand. I'm like, what? We're doing this before the tournament?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they're going to do it. It's going to fail. Then they're going to go to the island. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Nope. They go straight to the whole assassination thing. We cut back to Earthrealm. I almost said Earthworld. Earthrealm, and Cole is just chilling with his daughter, who's made him. And if by now, I don't think this was intentional, I'm hearing now that it wasn't intentional, but if by now you didn't know that he is part of the Hanzo Hasashi bloodline, the black and the gold or black and yellow was a dead giveaway. Like every time he had something, it's yellow and black. I'm like, oh, yellow hand wraps.
Who else is it going to be?
Exactly. At that point, some cool stuff's happening. No pun intended. It's starting to snow. So that's happening. And then we're seeing Sub-Zero like go like and make a hailstorm. Like, oh, that's so badass. That's awesome. Like Sub-Zero, he has no honor, but he's like a fucking Jason Voorhees in this movie. I love that.
They use him in a very
ghoulish way. Yes. And I like that. And I like the terror music that he has with him when he's doing that stuff. I actually did like that a lot. Cole makes a quick escape with Jax, and then all of a sudden they go down an alley. Dead end time, bro. And then, of course, what does Jax do? He takes out like this shotgun rifle, and then he says, take your family out of here. Go and find these coordinates. Look for Sonya Blade. And then they leave. And then, of course, Jax goes into a nice frozen warehouse. And like I said, the whole ghostly thing, that the whole cloud of like chill follows him in there. Like, it's almost like Mask of the Phantasm.
Dude, I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing. I was about to bring that up. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And it had that same eeriness to it or like the shape, like Michael Myers, just how he's coming at you. You're not stopping him. It was a good touch. The horror element. Yeah.
And Jax gets laid the F out. Holy shit. I thought he was dead because he hit his head and then he like fell down. I was like,
the CGI in that fall
was really good.
Made it seem like it was a lot rough, a lot more rough than it should have been.
And this is different. It deviates from the games where in the first series he actually just got his arms replaced, or they were like prosthetics over his regular arms, I think, because MK2 to MK3 he actually didn't lose his arms to that degree, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly. But then in the MK9 reboot, Ermac like destroyed them, so he had to get them completely replaced.
But also, that point of Jax losing his arms, even though it deviated, that was an okay deviation. I was like, that was because it was badass. I can't say it any other way. There's no technical way to say it.
Exactly.
It was just awesome the way it was Sub-Zero, the way they built that up.
It's just like when you got Tony Stark and Dr. Banner making Ultron. It works for the context. It makes sense. You just got to go with it. So Cole goes and drives in the middle of the night to like Indiana or whatever, to East Bumfuck at a trailer park, and then meets up with Sonya Blade.
Don't talk about that. That's her home.
That shithole. we don't talk about that home. And then this is where they start doing, like, they almost tried to make it feel like the first X-Men movie. You remember the part where he's like explaining, he's like Cyclops, Storm, what do they call you? Wheels. Yep. And he's like, she's explaining shit to him, and he's like, are you sure you didn't make that up? It sounds like you made that up. And they spelled combat wrong. So I thought that was pretty funny.
I do like at that point too, we get to see some of the Easter eggs. Like, don't we see Nightwolf?
We saw Nightwolf. We see Kotal Khan, who's for the Aztecs, Aztecs or whatever it is. And then we see Hanzo Hasashi's like Japanese mural. We see a few different things. And that's when they start dangling the whole member berry like trope in there. And they did, listen,
was taking a drink. Why'd you have to say it that way?
I know.
I almost spit it out all over my microphone.
I'm sorry, but the member berries were flowing in this movie.
Member.
Yeah, at this point, it was just,
member fatalities. Member.
It's true, but it's like, oh my god. And then this is where they start just throwing shit at you and hoping it sticks. It's like, huh, Night Wolf, huh.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh god, here we go with this. And then she's explaining like, oh, it's tournament, and I'm like, okay, conspiracy theorists shit going on. Okay, all right. And then
they didn't just do that with Godzilla, but it's okay.
Exactly. And then we get the best scene stealer in this entire movie. Fucking Kano.
He was great.
I love this guy, man.
A great performance. It reminded me of bad movie to reference, but Suicide Squad, Captain Boomerang, how he actually provided good levity to a moment. That's exactly what Kano did.
Exactly.
Maybe it's because they're both Australian, but
it could be. And that guy's apparently an Aussie comedian too. He's a comedian doing a villainous role, which is
I know they filmed this in Australia, so maybe they had a lot of local actors there. So maybe that's why.
Awesome.
But he was fantastic.
Stuff, he was
so
great.
Fun.
We cut to Outworld. We get Melina, aka Sissy Stringer, and so here I did my casting reaction on this, and the most shit that I got was from people who were trying to be fans of Sissy Stringer. Guys, I don't hate Sissy Stringer. I just don't know who she is. I've never seen her in anything. Looking at her, I think Jackie Briggs. I don't think Melina. And they casted her as Melina, not as Melina and Katana. There's a problem there for me. I'm sorry. You had Melina without Katana in here. There's no context. She's just a random warrior. There's ways around it for sequels, but I'm just saying. And then on top of that, people are bringing race and shit up. I'm like, she doesn't scream Melina to me. That being said, decent Melina.
She wasn't bad.
And then he's talking about, they've already like the man escaped or whatever. I forget exactly what she's talking to him about. He's like, the tournament is upon us. Like, what are we doing? How do you think we won? We didn't win by following the rules of Mortal Kombat. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but are we going to get a tournament? We're going to fight in the tournament anytime soon? I'm hoping we are.
Sure, keep hoping.
Yeah, I'm hoping we are. I was kind of holding my breath, and then he's like, send the reptilian, and I'm like, who could that be?
This is the thing that I needed to talk about the most. Because Reptile has always been my favorite, and I know he's not anybody's favorite. He's my fucking favorite.
I like Reptile. He's not my favorite, but he's in my top 5 ninjas for real.
I can't remember a time besides the games where he was done right. Why can't he be a humanoid? Why does he have to be an animal? We still get the moves, we still get the invisibility, we still get the tongue.
Yep.
But why does it doesn't have to be an animality?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be an animality.
That was a bummer.
Yeah,
that was the real. I don't want to say the first thing. It was one of the first things that I saw in this movie where I started to go,
Kano fucking gets freed, and then he does some cool shit because
that was awesome.
And he does his fatality, his heart rip and everything.
That was awesome.
This is many of the one-liners from the games. He's like, Kano wins. Like, that was perfect. He's like,
that was a good one. They keep going though, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, unlike the Krispy Kreme joke in the Power Rangers movie, it doesn't come back around to be funny again.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So after that happens, they go on this like sketchy looking freighter plane. They get dropped off in the desert somewhere, which I'm going to assume is not in the US because I don't see any mountain formations or deserts like that in the US usually. Then they finally come across this random beggar looking dusty man who throws a fireball at him. Oh shit, that's Liu Kang. Yeah. Doing this weird British Johnny Depp accent.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. But I will say again, it looked like Liu Kang, like costume wise. I mean, but the mullet he had going on.
Yeah, I was like,
that was weird.
I feel bad for this guy too, because this is the same guy who was in the Power Rangers movie as Zakk when they made Zakk Chinese. It's Ludi Lin. So he's already been in 2 movies that I recognized him. He's been in 2 movies now that have screwed me over expectation wise and been big disappointments.
That's not a good track record.
It's not a good track record. I'm feeling sorry for the man. And then that's where Kano's like, oh, I'm gonna get powers. I'm gonna get powers at some point, ain't I? I'm gonna get powers. And that's like,
yeah.
I think Kano should have been the foil for not the foil, the intro for the audience. He would have been the one. He's already kind of playing that role.
Great.
Kind of,
that'd have been great because then you can make it campy, funny, and over the top comedy, and the gore, and kind of like what I was talking about earlier with that.
Yeah. Inadvertently, I think they went with the wrong move, making Cole Young the audience.
Why hasn't Warner Brothers called you yet?
Warner. I'm here.
We can fix DC.
We're here, man.
We can fix DC.
Fanboys can fix all this stuff. Just saying. They get trained. They are introduced to the most assholian Raiden I have ever watched ever. Raiden is a douche, man. Like Christopher Lambert was a douche, but he cared about people.
Yeah, but he's playing him like he is in. It's like his only knowledge of the source is he played Mortal Kombat 10, where Raiden is getting seduced by the evil of
not the amulet. The
amulet.
Shinnok's amulet. Which, funny enough, Kano tries to hawk for some reason.
Yeah, I did like that. I saw that.
And then Liu Kang tells him to put that back. What are you talking about? you got Raiden, who is just a straight up dick to everybody. He's like, there's nothing for you here. You are not fit emotionally or physically as a fighter. Talking about Cole Young, talking to Sonya being, you don't even have a mark on you. I'm like, we're leaning into this now. I guess we're just going with this. Yeah. Okay, we're going with this.
These matter. Cool.
Yeah, these are really, really important, guys. Really important. Not in here. Really important. And then we see Jax. He made it, but he's totally, messed up.
Messed up.
Totally messed up. That was some good special effects on his arms too. Those arms looked really good. Like as far as being decapitated. Like, stumps. Like, I mean,
yes.
Like, oh God.
Yes. Because the other arms, I was gonna go against you and say I didn't think they looked good at all.
No, and I have to talk to you about that when we get to that point where the Okana shit starts kicking in, because he gets arms that are like this thin, and I'm like,
yeah, he's like that's not him.
Yeah,
so obviously his arms are gonna be
at some point. Like, are they gonna they're gonna build him up, right, or something's gonna happen? Like I said, the Okano stuff happens later on. We'll get more into it, but that happens. Shang Tsung tries to come through. Raiden's like, no, you're not. You shall not pass. Shit happens, and then we get freaking introduced to two new combatant villains, or I'm sorry, not villains, they're thugs. Every freaking fighter in this on the bad side is a thug, because they're not fighting in a tournament. Spoiler, guys, they're not fighting in a fucking tournament in this movie. Okay, I wanted it to happen. It does not happen. I am very upset about this. Okay, because
you're gonna check the time. You're going to check the time several times and be like, okay, so they got 20 minutes left for the tournament. Oh, okay, they're wrapping it up. So there's no tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And we are introduced to the most random thing I noticed here. Most random thing here. Essentially, we have them trying to get in, and this is right before the whole like you shall not pass shit happens, but then they're fighting and stuff like that. Like I said, Liu Kang misses completely with a fireball on Sub-Zero, and then all of a sudden, as they're kind of coming in, Kung Lao's hat flies through, and then he comes in the most badass way, and I'm like, that's Kung Lao, faux shizzle. That is Kung Lao.
Yeah.
And then they start training after they've been blocked off and stuff, and then they're just doing this fighting montage. And then Kano gets swept like every single time, which is, again, don't you know any of the fucking move? Like, that's totally an MK thing, because I would spam moves. I would spam the snowball. I would spam the spear. I would spam the sweep kick.
Crouch, uppercut.
But then it turns into, again, oh, you may be here, but you cannot fight. You do not have the symbol for the Okana. I'm like, all right, we get it. She doesn't have anything. We get it. You're gonna have her fight someone, and she's gonna get it. Okay, God, shut up now.
Yeah, it's so predictable. But again, that harkens back to them just thinking we won't understand.
And the movie is just tropey as fuck like that. Because with this right here happening, Cole is trying to train, but he ain't shit, and his heart's not in it. Oh, there's nothing for you here. Go to your family. I'm like, Of course, they're gonna have something happen to his family.
So
his family's gonna get killed. He's gonna get the power that he should have had to save them.
You see it coming. You see it coming because there's no way in hell Raiden, with just a little bit left until the tournament, is going to just be like, go away. They're not going to chase after you. Just go.
And inadvertently, that also plays into
of course they're going to come after him.
And that plays into the other trope where the trainer or the teacher pretends to be an ass, but he really cares and he knows what it needs to get done to have the heroes become heroes again too. Yeah. Tropey as fuck. But we do get Kabal talking like Jersey Shore, and that's fine.
But I do like that he even mentions that him and Kano had worked in the past. I thought that was awesome. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was very well done. I liked that. But again, when I'm hearing him talk, I'm like, what? And then the guy next to him, and then the guy next to him is Rico, General Reiko or whatever. And Reiko is one of those random characters from MK4. He has like the black around his eyes and stuff, and he's not a tall lumbering jackass with a hammer, which is funny though, because they thought that he was going to be Shao Kahn reincarnate, because he actually at one of his MK4 and gold endings puts on Shao Kahn's helmet, and they thought that was like basically him being reborn. And it's kind of funny when I saw the previews and when you're seeing the hammer that was inside of the trailer, that's his hammer, and he kind of looks again like Shao Kahn. Basically, he should have been Shao Kahn, but Shao Kahn doesn't show up in this movie, so he's not Shao Kahn.
When we see the statue of him,
we do, but it's not enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not. You're right.
It's not.
But it looked just like Shao Kahn.
It did. But I wanted Shao Kahn. No, I'm kidding.
I feel it. You're right.
That happens. They start recruiting people, and then of course they got to get Prince Goro in there. They got to get Goro marching in, and again, these are not villains.
You mean thugs. They have to waste Goro? They have to waste Goro.
Exactly. Because all the villains in here are thugs. They have no honor, and they're not fighting in a tournament. Even the Prince of Shokan has honor enough to fight in a combat setting. He's not a oh god.
You're not just a brute.
He's not he's not
he is a brute, but
he knows to fight in the right venue. He's not being a hired freaking killer, which is what they do, because they send him to go and kill Cole and his family. And at that point, I'm like, okay, at what point did you think it was a good idea not to make Cole young Johnny Cage? And then Kano gets basically, I forgot, they basically dick around with Kano and push him to the point where he gets his laser eye. So he's the only one that has powers at this point, because he's just, they pushed him, but he's also still an asshole.
How did you feel about him getting the eye that way, or him having the eye as an ability as opposed to it being a cybernetic enhancement?
I didn't like it that much. It was kind of like because it's like he needs to have that cybernetic enhancement and everything. But I guess, again, tying into the Okano stuff, because cybernetic enhancements only work if you have cybernetic prosthetics, because Jax gets a fucking upgrade when he can't lift a freaking boulder off of Sonya, because his Okano wills his arms to be bigger and more robust, apparently.
I thought Okana meant family.
Oh, yeah. I think that's Ohana. Right?
Oh, damn.
Kano betrays them. Big surprise, which I'm actually glad that it wasn't a surprise, because I thought Kano was going to be like,
they're gonna make him a good guy.
Funny enough, in the first game, Kano wasn't meant to be a bad guy technically. He
had no allegiances.
He had no allegiances, and in the comics, I guess he was kind of working with Earthrealm for a little bit. But in this instance, no, he's a douche. That's it. Melina whoops Sonya's ass again. This is not the blood of a chosen one. Okay, we get it. All right, we get it. Liu Kang was fighting Kabal. Kabal was well done. His effects and his running and everything,
abilities,
were freaking awesome.
His abilities were cool.
And they had, for some reason, they had Natara. Natara is a character
of all the characters to bring back.
Yeah, from one of the characters from Deadly Alliance. She didn't even have her eye patch. And it's kind of funny is in this Kung Lao is like the chosen one. He's like the descendant of Kung Lao, so they put a lot more on his shoulders. Whereas in the games, Liu Kang was totally the chosen one from the get-go. Kung Lao was always in his shadow because he felt like he should have been the chosen one, because his ancestor,
he's a descendant of Kung Lao. Yeah, he was a descendant of the first Mortal Kombat champion.
And then that plays into it a little bit more, because Shang Tsung basically kills him, and then Liu Kang's lost and he has to find out his purpose in life. And I'm like, That's such a fucking lame ass thing. He's been a beggar this whole time. You're telling me? You're telling me that Liu Kang, the chosen one of the Order of Light, wasn't the badass that we know him to be? That's garbage. That's garbage, man. Liu Kang is always the number one. He was never in the shadow of Kung Lao. He was never the lesser to Kung Lao. He was always the one teaching Kung Lao friends. About patience and friendship and all this stuff. Like how
he was toning down. He was toning down Kung Lao the whole time.
Exactly.
It was his friendship that made Kung Lao like balanced. Mm-hmm. But I agree. Like this should be a Liu Kang. It doesn't have to be like a main story. Like he doesn't have to be the main guy.
But we know Liu Kang is the guy.
Liu Kang is a big guy.
Yeah.
He can't feel like a throwaway character. And that's kind of how they made him feel in this one. Just wasn't, I don't think he was treated super well overall.
So that happens. All the people are fighting. Basically, they get their asses kicked. But Cole Young is fighting Goro, about to get killed. And then, what a surprise. He gets his Kano. And what is it? Spawn.
Yes.
Right?
Basically,
right?
Yeah.
He materializes armor and a 2 tonfa.
So it's like it's like they saw Black Panther.
Yeah.
And when let's steal that exact thing, do that exact thing. Just make it gold. No, they'll never notice. Because that's exactly what it was. Because it also absorbed energy and would release it
to a certain degree. Yeah, you're right.
So,
you're right. But
what are they doing?
If he's part of the Shirai Ryu and the part of the Hanzo Hasashi bloodline, he should be learning how to do fire stuff. He should be learning how to do shit. If anything, why don't you have the ghost of Hanzo Hasashi inhabit his body and then he becomes Scorpion? I would have loved to have seen that.
So that's where I thought they were going. I thought they were going to kill Cole in some way while he's holding the Scorpion blade. And that's when he comes back alive and is like, hey, I'm Scorpion. Obviously he doesn't say it like that.
But. Yeah, he would be, he would be the Spectre. He would be Scorpion, the warrior.
Right.
And I think they missed an opportunity here.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they could have killed off his family and then the tragedy would have been better.
That would also be a reason for him to come
would
back.
have been like a rhyme of repeated history that, again, because of you being who you are, your family has been killed, and then that makes up the more of the rage and stuff, and then he'll have more in common with Hanzo Hasashi than he thought and everything. But then again, I mean, you don't want to be played out. You don't want to do the same shit all the time. So basically the other combatants get their asses kicked. Cole defends his family and actually kills Goro. Fuck. No more Goro. Great.
This bigger than big badass 4-armed prince. Just we don't need him. He's not gonna be in them. Well, the one thing about it though is Shang Tsung at some point does say in the movie, death is just a portal to the next thing or to something that they did have.
Death is another portal. I mean, if anything shows that it's because of Scorpion, but then again, not really, because they do something weird with Scorpion, which we'll get to. But it pisses me off to no end with this stuff too.
It seems like if they are hoping for more, because they signed on for 3 other movies, right? So they're hoping for more movies. It seems like they're kind of doing what the Dark Universe did, where the Dark Universe, the monster movies that Universal try to do, they were trying to lay the seeds for the stuff they'll pay off later. Yeah. But the audience just didn't care enough.
Is it just me, or did Goro look like a Ninja Turtle in this?
He looked rough. I think it's better to not do CGI Goro and instead do practical Goro.
Yeah.
Like it looks a little rough in the original movie, but it's an actual thing that the actors can interact with.
Yeah. Cabal was badass. Waste of Goro, waste of Reptile. Melina, kind of generic. Waste of Kung Lao. Just kill him
although they did give him the fatality.
They did give him the fatality, which that was
the saw blade on the floor.
If for nothing else, you gave us Natara to say, fuck you, Natara, you're dead. We're getting fatality in this movie.
There was a lot of disappointment throughout the whole viewing. Now, luckily, it was only about 1 hour and 40 before credits.
Yeah.
But there were the things that we talked about that we enjoyed, and things that we were like, that could have been cool.
It could have been a lot better.
It should have been a lot more of the movie.
It should have been.
Problem.
It should have been. And at this point, everyone's kind of like, the chips are down. Liu Kang's being a little bitch, pining over Kung Lao's hat, which somehow went into the void with them, even though Kung Lao's dead. And now all of a sudden we give a shit about Sonya because she doesn't still have the symbol. But now we're gonna need her to fight these people. So of course they're like, hey, Cole comes up and says, hey, I got a bright idea, teacher. Let's separate them. Let's fight them on our own terms. They don't want a tournament. Well, let's give them one. I'm like,
yeah.
Can I get a fucking tournament? Can I get a real tournament, please? So yeah, Cole goes to fight Melina in the same place that Liu Kang fights Cabal. You get Jax fighting Reiko because he wants to fight him. He's like, I owe that big son of a bitch something. Then you have Sonya and Kano. Who knew? She kills him. She gets superpowers. Jax freaking messes up Hammer guy, and then just does his fatality. And then Liu Kang and Cole, are fighting Cabal and stuff. Cabal gets killed. Melina, her whole mouth actually opens, which is pretty cool.
That was cool that they leaned that much into it with her.
Definitely.
But again, I would have loved to have seen Katana, have that backstory explained, because that could have been like a Gamora and
Nebula type of
Nebula thing. Style, subplot within the movies.
And here's the thing with that is because of how it's explained later is that she's technically not a sister. She's basically a Katana clone now. So they've cloned her multiple times. So they could still save an appearance for another sequel if it happens. So then Sonya comes through and now she's got superpowers because it just wouldn't have been awesome to just give her powers just normally,
or just gauntlets like they are in the games. But what was weird to me was how quickly, okay, I'm here, I'm back, I have my thing, and I have my powers already. When you guys had to go through, ass whoopings after ass whoopings to get them, I just have them.
So yeah, they've basically wasted all the thugs because they're not warriors. Now what happens is Cole's family is trying to leave, and then Michael Myers does his, I'm sorry, not Michael. Sub-Zero does his
there you go
thing, like popping into the door, and then the Frost comes in, and then of course he comes through the little smoke portal, freezes the little bracelet, crushes it. And I'm like, oh, okay, yes, we're getting them. They're gonna die now. They're gonna die. No, they don't. They're not gonna die. Maybe they are gonna die.
Would that have redeemed it for you if they did go to that lengths? If Sub-Zero did actually end up killing the whole clan?
Nah, I'm just being an ass right now. I mean, if they were gonna kill the family, they would have done it when Goro did it. But I think this does raise the stakes, which oddly enough, throughout the entire movie, the stakes are not raised. I don't feel anything up until this point.
That's part of the problem too. Something important.
Something we forgot to do is talk about when they were in that little void where Raiden was talking to them. He hands Cole Hanzo Hasashi's like kunai that he made, and everything. And we've been teased with like images and visions of Hanzo Hasashi, basically.
Yeah, but the way it's done is they've done it so much that what's going to happen. Like it's not good foreshadowing. It's in your face. Here, you're never going to guess what we're doing, but here's what we're doing. It's like,
I have to be honest. I didn't outright think, I knew that he was going to come because obviously we haven't seen the scene that he fights Sub-Zero in. And oddly enough, I don't know why they just decided to just do two, one at the beginning and one at the end, which is, well, maybe a bookend type of thing. But anyway, Cole goes against his word. He said we were all going to take on Sub-Zero at once. Oh no, he's got my family. I'm just going to rush in. He rushes in, is getting his ass kicked, and much like Sub-Zero killing Scorpion's family, everything's playing out kind of the same. They're frozen, although they're still kind of alive. But the whole thing is that they're going to die. He takes out the little blade, and then he tries to stab, Sub-Zero, and then Sub-Zero puts it back on him, and then he cuts himself. And then at that point in time, that's when it clicked. I'm like, he just rubbed the lamp. Oh my God, he just rubbed the lamp. And then at that point, he pushes him down or whatever. And then he looks at the blade. And he's like, the blade of Hanzo Hasashi or something. Like, I don't know if he actually acknowledges it, but I think he looks at it.
He does.
Right.
He knows what it is when he sees it.
And then at that point in time, that's when he's about to go in for the kill, and get over here. I'm like,
and then you hear the techno. sound start coming in.
You know,
that was a great moment.
That moment, I was like, okay, I could have used this like half an hour ago, but hey, better late than never. And we get some awesome fighting, and then of course Hanzo is still speaking in Japanese, and then we're just going to assume that Cole understands Japanese even though he has not spoken Japanese the entire film.
Yeah, because they communicated back and forth at one point
for the Shirai Ryu, and then he's like, yeah. Although I think Cole really doesn't, we don't need him in this fight, so he just goes off and tries to save his family for like a good half a minute while Scorpion's kicking ass, freaking throwing the spear, you know, duking it out, throwing Sub-Zero right into the blade and everything like that. And then he's being all poetic and shit, like, remember this face, you know. And I'm just like, oh yes.
At one point, and this is probably due to the editing, but at one point he takes the mask off, puts it on, and then ends that shot. And then the very next shot starts with him taking the mask off again to talk to Cole. So then why'd you put it back on?
Right. It's like,
it's so annoying.
Yeah. Again, editing.
The initial one where he takes it off and says, "You'll remember this face," was a great callback to the very beginning.
Yep.
But keep the mask on. Stay unless you're roasting some people with your skull.
Yeah. Just keep it on, man. Keep it clean. All right. We got to keep the aesthetic going in here. All right. I have to be honest, the face mask could have been a little bit more skull-like. It was kind of like it a little bit. It came off like a pumpkin for me, somewhat.
It was one of the only ones that I can remember right now that wasn't super close to what the video games were doing.
Yeah, and I think they went more with like a samurai type of garb for him because again he is Japanese. You know, Shirai was more of like warrior samurai types, even though everyone looks like ninjas and everyone's a ninja in Mortal Kombat.
They were all the same skin, just painted different,
recolored. And then that's when Cole and Scorpion essentially kind of go and double team Sub-Zero. And then that's when his armor is like messed up. And then as he's taking it off, I'm like, okay, pay attention to that. Cause you know, if and when he dies, that's going to be the noob Cybot right there. Cause his costume's all black under, he doesn't have all the armor. And yeah, he gets what's coming to him. He gets a spear through the heart and then he gets toasted essentially.
That was awesome.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I like that. I liked a lot of the stuff in the fights. It seemed like they did use animation or moves that were from the game.
All right, so it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there because we've got a little bit more to go. I will establish a new list of fighters and we will all find them. Okay, who do we start with? And then we see the gym. There's no water damage, there's no freeze damage because now that doesn't it's like instantly like the night of it's all melted. It's fine. It's all right.
This looks just as good as the first day we see it in the first movie. Or
what probably happened is Raiden probably like wiped it, like did something. And he I'm sorry. He banishes Shang Tsung, by the way. He finally banishes him.
Yeah.
This whole entire time, this was not a tournament format. You could have banished him because of what he was doing. You decide now to banish him. What? That's a plot hole right there, my friend.
That goes to testament to the bad writing. I mean, there's so many aspects of the or there are so many different quotes that you just hear it and you go, oh, that doesn't sound good. Like when he first says, "I am Sub-Zero," when he's like disowning his old name, and he said, "I am Sub-Zero."
Well, that's some bad dubbing right there.
It was something was off about that, but there's so many lines in this movie that they don't really fit well. They're not written very, especially well. And that's kind of what leads to the lukewarm, performances too. Like they all kind of, not that they're bad. I'm sorry, not lukewarm, low energy performances. No one really stands out except for Kano.
Cole Young is talking to the guy who's running the gym. Oh, you gonna come fight for me again? No, I'm going to Hollywood. Oh, you gonna do the movies? No. Oh, what are you gonna? What's in Hollywood? Not what? Who? And he walks by
the poster,
Citizen Cage with Johnny Cage, and like, no, nope.
That's hey, but they made all the fans happy who said we're not gonna have Johnny Cage and they all got mad. Now he made them happy, right? Isn't that what that was supposed to do? We're happy now.
I feel like that was a tacked on reshoot scene.
It might have been.
Just because people were upset, right?
I do like that the belt buckle looks the same.
Yeah.
But
yep. It's true.
Still, that came off as pandering to me. That came off more of like one of those in your face Easter eggs that's not particularly well thought out. Nobody's gonna care about Johnny Cage now. Post all of the posts from online that say they care about Johnny Cage.
It's like the beginning of a Screen Junkies trailer. You know. But yeah, so that's the movie ends, and then they do an awesome updated version of the Mortal Kombat theme, and no end credits, no post credits. I didn't even stay in the theater because I'm like, okay, I'll just see it on HBO Max when I see it again. Because I'm a glutton for punishment. Apparently, I have to see something that I don't like more than once to really make sure I don't like it. Because I try and not to be that guy, but
you never know. You might like it on the second viewing. You let me know. I haven't watched it twice, and I don't think I will.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Even if it's part of your subscription for HBO Max, just avoid it at all costs. It's just like the New Mutants. Don't watch that either. Again, the fight scenes notwithstanding, this movie was member berries at their worst. Scorpion's a fucking genie. No stakes. Kano was the best part. Fights were good until they weren't. It's a prequel. Shut the hell up, people. I don't care if it's a prequel or not. If it was a prequel, then you should have put Mortal Kombat Dawn of Justice or whatever if you wanted to. Okay, that would have worked a lot better for me. I would have given it a pass.
Mortal Kombat Son of Sun, Night of Night.
Yeah. Oh man, that would have been so like that would have prepared me to be like, okay.
I don't know why, but those names are so poetic. I like those.
But yeah, and then I was leaving the theater, and then it was a packed theater for the pandemic numbers. So I mean, maybe this one's gonna break. I said this one might break records like Godzilla versus Kong did for theatrical releases. So, but someone said, "Oh, this movie was lit. The next one's gonna be lit too." I felt like slapping the shit out of them. This movie was not lit.
For using lit, or for saying that was a good movie.
You're right. I wanted to slap them 2 times. But I was like, clearly this guy had to be on something to think that this was the best movie ever or whatever. Because clearly the way he was talking, I was like, no, it's not. It's really not. Like, not even an ounce.
It seems easy to please a lot of the audiences today.
It's like they seemed like they cared so much about like the character, like, and the visuals and the fighting and that aesthetic, but it's like the story just wasn't cohesive enough, and it didn't feel like Mortal Kombat to me. And I don't know, again, if it was because of what they left on the cutting room floor, what they didn't have to do because of budget and time constraints, or they just didn't care. If this movie wasn't an IP property, if it wasn't Mortal Kombat, I would have loved this movie. But the thing is that in movies without the IP, I've seen so many better fight scenes and so many more creative stories done that I'm like, okay, well, why didn't you give that love to Mortal Kombat? Is there some type of clause in these movies where they have to make it different from the source material story? I don't understand that. Like, why is it
what
that...
it seems like? It's what it seems like with all these video game movies.
Every single one of
them.
They're
so afraid. And that's kind of the key to making the movie good. Is follow what worked with the game. If a game is a story game, and I hope to God Uncharted does this, but if a game is a story-driven game or it has a deep lore, follow that lore.
Follow the lore, dude.
There's a reason there's 1,000 games in that series.
Exactly.
You don't have to make new lore. You don't have to make new stuff. Just like the comic books. Comic book movies used to do this all the time. And that's what makes the MCU stand out so much more is that they interpret it, but they really take from the pool of what they have. Whereas video game movies are doing what the comic book movies used to do. They're taking it and fundamentally altering what they had. Like, look at one of the original video game movies, Super Mario Brothers. Look at how much, and they worked with Nintendo for that movie, but they changed so much of it that it wasn't Smash Brothers or Super oh my goodness,
Super Mario Brothers.
Mario anymore.
But yeah, so as far as this goes, again, guys, keep it simple, stupid. Fundamentals, Hollywood. You don't need to do all this crazy shit, although it was kind of awesome with the beginning and the end. But overall, as a whole, the movie suffered greatly because
you can't make a sandwich with the greatest sourdough bread, but then the middle of it is shit.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a good sandwich.
Exactly. It's like you toasted.
You can't have
the
beginning of the movie be great and the end of the movie be great, but the middle stuff you don't care about.
Yeah.
You're gonna leave us with a bad product, and that's what they did. There's a way to do it where you're not drowning the audience with lore. You're just giving them the small bits. It feels like, and I've heard a couple of people talk about it this way. It's like they were trying to build an MCU style thing.
Yeah.
Where they're going to spin off other characters and do this stuff.
Yeah.
Which Mortal Kombat is absolutely a place where you can do that.
Oh yeah.
There's so many characters that you can establish, but you can't try to stuff it all into the one movie. If they should have focused on one aspect of the lore in this one, and then the next one you go into another one, and the next one you go into another one, and then the next one's the Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like if they built us up to the tournament, which is kind of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But with one movie, I don't know. There's a lot they need to look at.
Here's the thing: is there should not be a prequel taking place before the tournament, and fundamentally, I don't think there should be. In the beginning of the first movie, where there is the first tournament or the 10th tournament where Earth can potentially lose Earth. At the beginning, they did it great in the first movie where it's like half an hour. You introduce your main characters. You just give them like some backstory that you can follow up with later on in sequels. With Mortal Kombat, I don't even really feel like they needed to do that. They could just jump right into it and kind of have little bits here and there because the development comes in from the story that's already established that they can work off of. If you're curious about it, you've never been a fan of it, you can always go back and read it on Wikipedia or whatever and say, oh, that's because of this, that's because of that. And then later on, you can add little nuances or change it up slightly in the coming things. But yeah, Scorpion's a genie. How is he going to come back now? He's not going to come back because his vengeance has been fulfilled. He's not going to come back if they're doing it like this. Makes no sense.
I mean, unless Noob Saibot comes back,
I guess, or maybe they're just in hell fighting each other because they're both.
That's too.
You know,
that too. It could be now that they're both there, they're just eternally doing their duel.
Yeah,
but it doesn't matter how they're going to bring him back because I don't think we're even going to get a next movie.
I honestly, and you know what's funny is because the box office is stating that I don't know what the name in it is it Demon Slayer or something like that. That anime movie that's in theaters now is actually beating Mortal Kombat or in the way of getting money for Mortal Kombat. And I'm like, do not underestimate anime fans and the properties that are brought to the States, especially when they get theatrical releases like Dragon Ball Z, My Hero Academia. Forget about it. Those ones had some pretty strong records. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a gatekeeper, but all y'all normies, you've killed my franchises. You've killed all of them. Are you happy now?
I first learned that with Aragon. There is a good Mortal Kombat movie somewhere in the things that they gave us. It's just not present in what they did actually give us, though. There's so many things missing from here. There's so many things that they explain. The acting is not bad, but just one note. And overall, I'm not gonna lie, I will go see a sequel if they make a sequel.
Yeah.
Because as much as I shit on everything that I shit on,
you want to support the property, yeah.
Right. I need them. If they do well, then that means that they'll make more of the things I like.
At this point, I feel like it's going to go the way of Resident Evil, though, so we shouldn't feed the beast.
That's kind of what it's starting to seem like. I don't think and as far as video games movies, this is kind of in the middle tier. Like, it's not even a bad video game movie when you look at the respective other movies that the video game industry has put out.
Yep.
But that's not a good category to be in.
Okay, so literally this movie reminds me of is the Fantastic Four movies that have been made. Yeah. There's 3 of them. First one was decent. Second one was corny as hell.
But again,
Fan Four Stick doesn't know what the hell Fantastic Four is.
But and I know what you mean, though. There's things in some of the original Fantastic Four movies that you're like, that if you just tweak it or you do it a little bit different, that works really well.
Yeah.
But they don't. They don't. And Mortal Kombat, I don't think is going to learn the lesson. They will make a sequel.
Yeah.
And that one's not going to I'm gonna get hyped for that one, and it's not gonna do what it's supposed to do.
It's gonna let me down just the same.
Exactly. Yep. At the end of the day, this movie is not really one that I'm gonna add to my collection, which is kind of, I don't really give grades. I give more like, am I gonna own it? Am I not gonna own it?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I stand. I'm not gonna get this one, I don't think. Now, if they come out with 2 other movies and they're amazing, and I have to get this to complete the set,
yeah,
sure.
All right, guys. Well, that's all the time that we have had for today, shitting all over this movie with our nitpicks and our, little things like that. But, guys,
well deserved nitpicks.
It was well deserved. It was totally well deserved. I want to say a big thank you to Mr. Zakk 2k's here again. Dude, thank you so much for coming back on the channel. I'm so glad. And guys, if you haven't already, and I'm going to try and see if I can put all the links down in the description, go and follow this man and his YouTube group and stuff like that, where him and his friend do some awesome work. Guys, you've got a young and budding YouTube channel. Where can we find you guys on? Like I said, YouTube, but where else?
So we're on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, I believe Instagram, possibly a TikTok when I find out how to not be an adult and lower my age and figure that stuff out.
I'm holding out for the TikTok portion. I swear.
I don't want to. I really don't want to.
But
we're on all those platforms, and it's thank you so much for having me, man. It's been so much fun getting back on here, catching up with you, talking about this movie, and then thanks to your guys for listening to me for chatting this long.
Again, thank you so much, and guys, thanks for watching. It's been real. Thanks for taking a look. If you dug the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are, hit that bell button and go subscribe. Go follow Uncensnerd.
Love to have you.
Good stuff. They get some great memes too. So, but in the end, as always, I'm Jay.
I've been Zakk 2k's.
And that's a wrap for us. Take care. Bye.